Daine Orban, the erstwhile Knight of the Road, sighed as she regarded her reflection in the mirror. She did not like what she saw. The weeks since she arrived at Swinford had passed in somewhat of a blur. There had been defenses to raise, militias to be trained, and a never-ending stream of demands on her time. Although Talzin was a more than competent mayor, even his talents had only managed to slow the decline of this once great city. Everywhere she looked, there was a project that would take months to bring to fruition, where they had, in reality, weeks. Whilst the keep in which she had been given quarters would prove a formidable bulwark, it was the only genuinely defensible structure she had seen in the city. There were whole sections of the outer walls that would provide, at best, a passive defense against a determined assault, and the less said about the troops available to hold those walls, the better. If, as their information suggested, the king's forces were imminently expected to descend with righteous fury on the west, Swinford, in its current state, would struggle to provide much more than a token resistance. She feared a tidal wave of slaughter awaited her, and she was not sure she had such dark work in her any more. Daine had been tired before, of course. It was an occupational hazard for those who walked the road. But she sensed that her current mood was something else, a bone-weary exhaustion that had little to do with a lack of sleep. She had lost a child she had sworn to protect. Her eyes traced over lines and creases in the face projected back at her by the mirror, and the years had not been kind. Though not in the way she thought others would judge such things, until recently she had been content. She could feel that the events in the village and the schemes of the Trellecs had left wounds upon her soul that would never be healed. She was confident that the Dusk Strider would fulfill his promise and return Genoes to her. But what then? Where would she take him to protect him from the civil war that would surely tear the West apart? And what of her own status? As a Knight of the Road, she was charged with dispensing the justice of the goddess while on tour. Once the king learned of her own sympathies with the rebels, indeed, that she planned to do what she could to repulse the advance of the king's army, what then? "We will cross that bridge when we come to it." She was unsure if the words of the goddess were especially comforting. And suddenly, there was a flare of recognition in the gaze regarding her in the mirror. She had seen that haunted, broken look before, in the eyes of her mentor, gallant Stonehand. "I am sorry to interrupt, my lady." A servant had appeared behind her. "Mayor Elm desires your presence.